Rings of Power Season 2 Episode 6 is like stumbling through your living room and continuously stepping on Lego pieces. You have incredible references to the Lord of the Rings movies like this.
They will be deemed the most precious.
Which has got the fans so excited that
They're as wet as a river rock.
So we start the scene with a favourite pastime of all elves, morning jog in the forest. Looks like Arondir is trying to beat Elrond's personal best. He soon stumbles upon a loudmouth duo of orcs, but what's this? Our keen-hearing elf is ambushed by a brute orc. Just like when the other elves had no idea that the whole frickin' battalion of orcs were marching right next to them.
Alrighty then.
Meanwhile, Dementia Elf is still being scammed by the scammy-wigged Sauron. He's even forgotten where he left his sex toys. Then there's this guy elf talk between them.
So deep. Simply to stay there a while. I imagine at times you must be tempted, or you were going so deep into it.
These guys are in so deep, just one fight ain't gonna do it.
Turns out that the number of artisan and hippies are also dwindling in Eregion, and an elven search party was completely destroyed with only one half-dead kind of guy returning with this on his chest.
Bury him.
Luckily for them, that's Elven for all clear on the road, no orcs here. Okay, bye. P.S. We have families too. Phew, I thought it was some ominous force that was approaching the city, scaring off all the hippies. We then see Sauron taking over Eregion as the decision maker.
He has asked me to see to it that no one is permitted to disturb him. Not even the Smiths.
I love the Smiths. To die by your side is such a heavenly way to die.
And who could blame him? Listening to lame music and trying to make rings, it just doesn't work. I actually do love the Smiths. Anyway, I love that Sauron is this all-encompassing manipulative force who manages to move so many pieces of the cheese board, but is kinda a little bit oblivious to the fucking army assembling outside his city. I guess that's not the first time that's happened to a ruler.
While Dany kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces.
We then scoot over to Adar and Galadriel having a nice little Tinder date here. We have another cheesy bit of dialogue and then...
You know nothing on my mind.
Yeah, Adar, you've not seen what she's seen, okay? They then have a nice chat and actually come to the realization that Sauron groomed both of them.
His eye bores a hole, and the rest of him slithers in.
He touched us here and here. The bumhole.
Turned out he coerced Adar by promising him children. This is actually widely known in Tolkien's lore. Middle-earth Uruk did have birthing problems. They couldn't have too many children, and the fertility rates were dropping lower and lower. So in comes Sauron as a private entity, promising new IVF clinics for those families. And so the orc women could store their eggs before the age of 30 or when they kind of went off to war. Okay, so for this part, just in case you're a bit slow, I've got a presentation for you because, you know, the show is big brain time and you need to bring your A game to understand it. Adar is thinking 3 rings save the elf tree, big dick move. Morgoth's crown, mega big dick move. I'm no mathematician, but we all know that big dick move and a mega big dick move equals Sauron's destruction. Okay, so we had Sauron, and instead of keeping him in a prison until we got all the big dick moves together and assembled it into one giant big dick plan, Adar kind of just lets him roam, or even better yet, let him roam, make more rings, enter an impenetrable city, groom some more people, go to the Dwarven Cave and groom a Balrog. Good, I'm glad this plan is all working out. And over at No One Gives a Flying Fuck region, this guy has to say sorry and kiss a king's sweaty ballsack. He does actually say sorry, but declines to kiss it. Now over to No One Gives a Flying Fuck region 2, we are in the same room we have been over the last 3 episodes, where these 2 wavering accents are still having a cup of fucking tea. Luckily, they have plenty of time, no pressing issues at all.
Sauron rises in the west, a dark wizard in the east. Every soul in Middle-earth is in peril.
Oh shit, my bad. We then have another cheap rendition of a Lord of the Rings quote by Tom Bombadildo.
Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life.
Many that die deserve life. Some that live deserve death.
They've thrown so many Lord of the Rings quotes and references, I'm half expecting Sauron to say, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, Extended Edition 4K. Turns out Tom gives Gandalf the Grey Pubes a conundrum, save the world or your crappy little friend Nori. It's a take on a classic trolley dilemma that has plagued philosophers for centuries. Do you save the one that you love, or do you save many innocent humans? It's truly a big brain moment for the show. However, due to how annoying those hobbits are, and to be fair, every single other character in this version of Middle-earth, the only plausible answer here is... Meanwhile, Sauron is in Glasgow asking for some more of that mithril smack. He gets denied by the Northern Dope King, and he does an angry baby Balrog face in the fire. Some nice emoting going on here. Disa then does this. Kind of weird, but something groundbreaking is happening here. Just ignore this tough, hardy dwarf miners running off like little girls because of some bats. Ignore that, because the show needs you to ignore that. This is the moment that the MCU and DC universe overlaps. Early in the season, we had some origin story of Sauron, aka Venom the Suit. Now we have the prelude to the DC movie, an overweight black female Batman. Because why can't you have a Batman who is a woman? We live in modern times anyway, and where does it say in the comic that he can't be an overweight black lady? This new polycystic ovarian syndrome Batman movie will be out in 2025. We then have a scene which seems to be ripped off of the movie Braveheart, where our hero is requested to relent and accept the new king, and he is about to be eaten by a squid, but alas, his precious queen is like, nah fam, I'll take your place. Everyone's real quick to check Rule 3.25 Appendix 8.
She's correct, it's all in there. You must.
Okay, cool. So she's just hanging in this shallow little rock pool, and I'm pretty sure that now we have to suspend our geological disbelief because a giant squid pulls her to the depths of the sea, right on the edge of the land. My brain is hurting at this point. Anyway, another giant animal endorses a person and the crowd goes wild in this city. We first had the eagles. Can we just agree that giant animals endorsing a candidate is no basis for running a political system? Now, if only the US presidential race could get a giant animal... Oh wait, they've already got a giant cock. This dude then goes to check his Palantir stock. It's up 20% and he's got a raging hard-on. This has nothing to do with the plot, but much like the homeless Gandalf story arc, it's there anyway. Back to our couple, and it looks like they're on date night number 2 already, and Galadriel is spilling all her kin's secrets like a canary, soon after being betrayed by Halbrand when she was criticised for doing the same.
Elrond hastens from Lindon with an army of elves, and Nenya, my ring.
I think having the word Elrond and haste in the same sentence is a bit of a stretch, especially after his urgent message to Eregion. Meanwhile, Adar is not buying any of it and has his own plans.
Do not take his law!
I will make him choke on it.
We then see the guards in Eregion who seem to have the same eyesight as the iceberg watchers in the Titanic. How is it then that you've only noticed a frickin' army with torches? He and Sauron have another little domestic issue going on and then stumbles out to the palace to this scene. It's quite obviously a mirage because we know that in Tolkien's lore that ginger people don't have souls, and a normal kid would not actually be playing with a ginger kid. That's ridiculous. We then have a nice little pause before another reference to the Lord of the Rings movies.
They will be deemed the most precious.
He then gives him a giant dildo, which is actually a replica of his own penis, to forge one cock ring that rules them all. Sauron then walks off ominously in the town that, for the last 2 seasons, seemed to only have 15 people. Actually turns out has more than that, and it's about 20. And for our finale, we're baited again, just like the last episode, with orcs approaching the borders of Eregion, but this time with fireballs, and I prefer just standard man balls, but yeah, whatever. So we find ourselves 2 episodes away from the end of Season 2. I kind of find myself repeating the same issues that I've talked about in Season 1, so I won't, I'll just stop talking about them. But this show has this incredible knack of finding more problems, and just seems to add layer upon layer of human feces. The constant nods and quotes towards Lord of the Rings, like a try-hard friend who'll never be accepted in a friendship group. It makes it cringe and it takes you out of watching the show. And the biggest problem with opening so many mystery boxes is that unless it's done right, it's going to leave the show feeling flat. No matter what they do with Grey Pubes, it's going to be crap. If he's Gandalf, well, there were so many clumsy clues left that it's obvious, and even as a mystery box, it's not really a mystery box. If it's not Gandalf and a random blue wizard appears, okay, but what about all those random clues that were left behind? I'm intrigued though. We have 2 episodes left with this marketing machine of Amazon, in the hope of keeping viewership numbers, have been touting it as the best TV show battle scene ever. Will it be dark and barely viewable? Probably. Will random ploys be used as an element of surprise? Definitely. The show just looks hollow, even with the $1 billion gloss and the good CGI and the good orc makeup. Take Eregion. For most of this show, there is no way that place feels bigger than a forge tower and a couple of stables below it. Look at Lindon. Name me a scene apart from the Dope King's tree courtyard and the shipyard. When a show not only fails to capture the atmosphere, the essence of a world, but also fails to have a variety of outdoor locations, then you lose the thing that makes you believe the world is real. This feels like a TV show on a set. You could throw a couple more $1 billion in a fancier wig shop, and if the basics were done this badly, you would have the same result. A bunch of men and women in wigs jogging around a woodland for no fucking reason. And if you enjoyed this, then click on the next video where I break down the worst parts of Season 1. Spoiler alert, it's pretty much all of it. Strengthen all our soldiers. I'll see you on the next one.